Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you here tonight. Wanted to chit-chat a little bit about professional wrestling. Lots of people out there have been debating what is up with Rusev. The talk of the town. I listened to Observer Live today. I listened to Wrestling Observer Radio. I listened to Review of Raw. Lots of podcasts. I haven't seen that many videos because, honestly, it seems that nobody really watched Monday Night Raw last night, with the lowest rating in Monday Night Raw history in the last 17 years. That's a long damn time. And each and every week, you see the decline in the Monday Night Raw numbers. If it's, people cutting the cord and no longer being a subscriber, people watching it on a stream on the internet, like I do, and other things. But, the big thing is that I knew it was a little bit weird when WWE, before the pre-show started, they broke the news that they knew about the news of Rusev and Lana being engaged. That seemed very, very weird to me. I knew that TMZ, I guess you can say, broke the story by posting the Rusev and Lana engagement, with Rusev proposing to Lana. They were pushing it on their Twitter. They were pushing it on their website that it was such a big deal. And so often, they run WWE news because wrestling is, this pop culture sort of deal. They're the ones that broke the news that Triple H cut his hair. They were the people that broke the news on Bruno Sammartino, or maybe it wasn't Bruno, maybe it was the Ultimate Warrior getting into the Hall of Fame. They've broken different news stories that WWE wanted broken. It was almost like they're like, here you go, here's this story, and then maybe hopefully when, like, Cameron gets another DUI and tries to bribe the cops and lie, saying that she's the bank teller at Wells Fargo, something like that. Maybe WWE be able to sweep it under the rug, because we'll give you a story about Seth Rollins next week, and it's going to do better than this story would have done. But we'll have to see what's going down with that. But a lot of people think, by looking at the storyline last night, that Rusev is done with WWE. They sort of really blew that storyline up, and the word that's coming out today is that Lana is going to be leaving to I was going to say record, but I guess you can say film another movie. I guess maybe she's getting rave reviews for the movie that she just made. I heard that the part that she had in that movie wasn't all that big, but maybe she's getting another role that's going to be larger than the last one, and she's actually going to be sort of branching out into WWE films, especially right now when she's out with her wrist being injured, and she's not going to be able to take a physical role, and that seems where WWE wanted her to be going. It seems like a good thing, for her to go off and be able to do something. But for the Lana, Summer Rae, Dolph Ziggler, and Rusev angle, that seemed like it was going really well. It seemed like it was progressing very, very fast, when they could have drawn it back a little bit if it was an angle that was being run during, maybe, I guess you can say, the brand split era, when there was, people just on SmackDown and there's people just on Raw, so that way you wouldn't have to be sort of getting the repercussions of what happened on Raw on SmackDown. You could wait a week and you could actually play it on Raw, and then you could actually build a bigger storyline that way by not having to just demolish the storyline right into the ground, just beating it up. I don't think that Rusev is, seriously in the doghouse. I can understand that WWE did get upset at the story getting out, because it did kill one of the major storylines of Monday Night Raw. It seemed that they were really branching into being a soap opera, I guess you can say. And for the people that didn't like this is the kind of angle that was run during the Monday Night Wars, during the Attitude Era, that everybody, buzzes about the fact that how great it was. But then maybe, now that they've loaded a lot of these Raws on to the WWE network, you can go back and see these Raws and be like, wow, a lot of these angles that I remember that were really great, or people have told me that were great, they kind of sucked. Honestly, the WWE was on fire, WCW was on fire, and it seemed that they could do no wrong. But honestly, a lot of the stuff that I've gone back and watched, it's just not as good as I really remember it. I mean, wrestling today is as good as it was then. It's just not being talked about on a widespread deal. I don't think that Rusev's going to get fired. I don't think that Rusev's in the doghouse. I think that what's going to happen with Rusev is that this was a really good storyline for him, and for them to have to end this and move on to something else, it sort of sucks for Rusev, because Rusev's big deal when he came in, he was the Russian sympathizer from Bulgaria. He had the hot chick in Lana, and, he was, waving the Russian flag, and he was, down with the USA and all this other stuff. And, once he was beaten and he lost his United States Championship, he lost his undefeated streak, and, somebody's actually, being able to break the plane of beating this guy. It sort of shows you, where do you go from here? I mean, think of, like, all the guys that they brought in during the 80s. They'll feed somebody up, they build them up, Hulk Hogan beats them, and then basically they leave the territory. But Rusev is like an 80s character in today's professional wrestling, where you have to have this guy on house shows. You have to have this guy on Raw. You have to have this guy on SmackDown. There's nowhere for him really to go with this character. And I mean, he's just a guy. And, for everything that's great about Rusev and how much of a fan I am of this guy and how good I think he is, honestly, with this character, unless they just totally repackage it, he's been beaten, he's been exposed. He got beat on Raw by Ryback in a nothing match. It's not the worst that he lost, it's just the way that he lost. That it's just like, once you beat a guy like this, where do you go from here? I mean, I'm not saying that I'm not a fan of him. I'm not saying that I don't want this guy to succeed. But I think in like one night, you turn this guy into just nothing. And it sucks. Maybe he could have lost, but maybe he didn't need to lose like that. But this is going to be a weird time. I'm sure that WWE writers are going to have to be scratching their heads, because you can't really go, Rusev versus Dean Ambrose, because that's just a weird matchup. It doesn't seem like there's any way to build a storyline to getting you to that. We got to hope that Lana comes back. She's the mouthpiece for Rusev, and even at that, it's hard to see where you go from this guy, unless it's just people coming over and grabbing Lana's ass and he has to beat him up for it or something. I don't know.